We are back for UFC 268, maybe the best card of the entire year. I mean, in Madison Square Garden, New York City, the main event, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, the rematch of one of the greatest welterweight title fights of all time. I mean, there's some good ones. Matt Hughes, Frank Trigg, you got Rory McDonald taking on Robbie Lawler, and Colby and Kamaru one's on that list as well. That's your main event. Your co-main event, Rose Namajunas, Weili. Also, I mean, just fireworks out of Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, so many big names on this card. And let's get into this 14 fight prediction. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more UFC here on the channel. And just a real quick recap of last week, UFC 267. Hate to say it, but I told you so. Main event, Glover Teixeira picking up the win. We went 12-2 on the card. Our only losses, we took that chance on Sandhagen. He didn't come through, and then we picked against Michael Zolciak. He won 2. But other than that, 12-2, really good week. Last week we went 11-2-1. This week 12-2. Let's hope for more this week with UFC 268. Interesting fight to start this one off. We have got CJ Vergara taking on the Picasso of MMA in Ode Osbourne. For Ode Osbourne, coming off that loss to Manel Kape, UFC 265. It's early in the card. Really good fight for how long it did last. Manel Kape lands that huge flying knee. Now, Kape did miss weight coming into that fight, but it was a big highlight reel knockout for Kape. In that one, we picked that one right. You picked Kape by KO. But before that, for Ode Osbourne, picking up a win against Jerome Rivera, knocking out Rivera in 26 seconds. Now, that fight was a little bit questioned going into that one, considering Jerome Rivera just fought about, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2 weeks beforehand. He took some big shots from Francisco Figueiredo, came back, quick turnaround. Ode Osbourne knocked him out in about 26 seconds. Then Osbourne's first fight in the UFC, when he was on, Conor McGregor was on the Ode Osbourne card. He lost to Brian Kelleher early in 2020. Then he got his weight in the UFC by winning on the Contender in 2019. Osbourne, he's got good grappling when he does need to use it, but his striking so far in the UFC has been good. We're looking at the Jerome Rivera fight, basically the Manel Kape fight. He did have his moments, but again, Kape did land that big knockout, which did end the fight. For his opponent, CJ Vergara, in this one, he's coming off a win over Bruno Correa on the Contender. Won that one just 2 months ago. Big knee to the body that won it for Vergara. He was out striking his opponent in that one pretty handedly. Again, it was only 40 seconds into the fight, but for those 40 seconds, Vergara looked good in that one. Again, not much you can see out of that fight, but he did get the knockout finish, TKO finish, 40 seconds into that one. Before that, for Vergara, fighting at a Fury FC. He was the Fury FC featherweight champion. He won that one 2 fights ago, defended it once against Jacob Silva, and then lost one on the Contender right after. Currently on a 4-fight winning streak for Vergara. His striking, very good. Don't see much of the ground game, but really Vergara's striking is where he is at his best. So you're going to see a striking affair between Vergara and Ode Osbourne. Both these guys come out for finishes early. They're both fast starters and really look for the finish at any point in the fight. For Vergara, you got those 2 finishes defending the Fury FC championships. Both of them were in the 3rd round by KO. One of them by flying knee in 2019. And for Ode Osbourne, always able to get the finish early. Again, on the Contender series, though, picking up one by armbar in the 1st round as well. So he does have the ground game too. Osbourne's ground game, I do believe, I'll say it, is better than Vergara's. Striking pretty evenly matched. You got the power out of Osbourne. Same can be said about Vergara, but Vergara works the body really well as well. So a tremendous fight to start this one off. I'm gonna go with Ode Osbourne. Osbourne might be a slight favorite right now. I don't think the odds are about even. I'll check them, or they'll be on the screen right now. But Ode Osbourne, I like the striking out of Osbourne. I like the power out of Osbourne. I think if this fight has to go to the ground, I will give the advantage to Ode as well. Now, Vergara could catch Osbourne, and he could keep this fight standing and work the body really well and eventually finish Osbourne. Could I see that happening? Definitely. But for now, we're going to go with the Picasso of MMA and Ode Osbourne. And I think this one's going to be a quick finish. There's a reason this one's opening the prelims. I'm going to go Ode Osbourne, 1st round KO to beat CJ Vergara to kick off UFC 268. Now we have got the UFC debut of Bruno Souza, and he's taking on a guy in Melzik Baghdasaryan, who Baghdasaryan looked very good in his first fight in the UFC, picking up that huge head kick knockout against Colin Anglin on the Holland Strickland card. Tremendous finish from Melzik Baghdasaryan, and I mean, what can we say about this guy? His striking is tremendous. I mean, Melzik Baghdasaryan, 6 wins, 5 of them by TKO. The only decision was that fight in the Contender series, but after that, man, in July of this year, big knockout finish against Colin Anglin. Baghdasaryan with that kickboxing background, and he's taking on a guy here in Bruno Souza. Really good ground game. It's a clash of styles in this one, really, but Souza, not known for getting his finishes. He hasn't gotten a finish. He got a finish in 2020, but mostly it is the decision victories for Bruno Souza, working on the ground pretty well. His last fight in LFA was a win to win the featherweight championship over there, beating Javier Garcia by unanimous decision. He won all 5 rounds, picking up the win. It was a good performance for Souza. Comes in this one with a record of 10-1, but really, I mean, I'll just keep it simple with you. I think Melzik Baghdasaryan is going to win this one. I don't think it's going to be all that competitive. I think Baghdasaryan keeps this one standing. On the feet, Baghdasaryan, a hell lot better of a striker than Bruno Souza. Don't get me wrong, Souza's striking isn't horrible. He had a fight against Kenwell at Kirk where he did stay in there with Kirk, and you can argue that he won some rounds on the feet against him, so I wouldn't say Souza's striking is horrible. Just not a lot of power on the feet from the former, or the current, I guess, LFA featherweight champion. It's just that compared to Melzik Baghdasaryan, though, I don't think he stands much of a chance. If he can't get this fight to the ground, which I don't think he's going to be able to, this is going to be all Melzik Baghdasaryan. Again, the world where Souza does win, he out-volumes Baghdasaryan, eventually grapples with him, gets him to the ground. I don't see that happening, though, really. I think Melzik Baghdasaryan is going to come out there, fast start. We're going to go back-to-back first-round TKO finishes. I think Baghdasaryan gets another one. This guy's kickboxing is tremendous. He's got a lot of power on the feet, and we're going to go with Melzik Baghdasaryan to finish Bruno Souza by KO in the first round. Don't like this fight here. It's going to be Dustin Jacoby taking on John Allan. This was supposed to be Allan taking on Alexa Kammer. And I thought it was going to be somewhat of a competitive fight, but Jacoby and Allan, I'll keep it real with you, I don't think this fight's all that competitive. Dustin Jacoby is a tremendous striker. Dustin Jacoby is a monster on the feet, former Glory kickboxer. They're going to bring that up to you every single time he does fight. Former Cage Fury champion. John Allan's a guy who had his last fight against Roman Dolidze. I thought Dolidze won that one pretty handedly. Again, it was a split decision fight. Dolidze outstruck Allan. He took him down 3 times. Somehow it was a split decision, but Roman Dolidze went in there and he beat up John Allan. Allan, before that, he fought Mike Slow Rodriguez. He landed a couple of takedowns in that fight. That fight got overturned to 2-0 contest, but Allan looked okay in that one, but that's his only 2 fights in the UFC. For Dustin Jacoby, since coming back to the promotion, after having that run with Glory, and then he came back in the contender, beat Ty Flores, he beat Justin Ledet, worked the leg kicks really well in that one, put away Justin Ledet with leg kicks. The Maxime Grishin fight, I'll be the first to say it, I thought he lost that fight. I thought Grishin won that one, but it's okay. Jacoby's striking looked very good in that fight. Then you got the fight against Ion Kutelaba, looked good in that one. Again, it's a split draw, but it's all right. He's got the fight against Darren Stewart after that. That's the fight that really shows you, okay, Dustin Jacoby's for real. Comes in there, knocks out Darren Stewart, standing TKO finish 3 minutes into the first round. Huge win for Dustin Jacoby, and he's still undefeated right now in his second stint in the promotion. Obviously, the first one back in 2011, made his debut in UFC 137 on Penn and Diaz. Long time ago, lost to Chris Camozzi. Back on UFC on Fox 2 in 2012. So, long time ago. Jacoby's come back, though. He's looked very good. I just don't know where John Allan wins this fight. Again, it's probably on the ground, but honestly, Dustin Jacoby's defensive wrestling isn't all that bad. John Allan's striking compared to Dustin Jacoby, I don't think he has that much of an advantage on the feet. I'm going to give the advantage, obviously, to Jacoby. So, all around, this is all Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby is one of these guys who, say what you want, probably should be fighting guys in the top 20 to top 15 range in the weight class. I just don't like this one. I'm going to go Dustin Jacoby to knock out John Allan early, and we're going to go another early finish. I'll go second round finish, though, in this one. Again, I'm not too impressed with Allan's striking compared to Jacoby, who's a former Glory kickboxer who had some success in Glory as well. This is a guy who's going to run right through John Allan. I'm going to go Dustin Jacoby with a second round TKO finish over John Allan. Just don't like the matchmaking. Alexa Kammer versus Allan would have been close, but we're going to go with Jacoby in this matchup by KO. Now we've got the heavyweights. Jan Villante, Chris Barnett. Villante's back, and this man has had some trouble in his past UFC fights. His last one's a fight against Jake Collier. He loses that one by unanimous decision. It's a fight where Collier just outstrikes him for 3 rounds. I mean, it's just not a great performance for Villante. Collier comes in there. He wins that one pretty decisively. 30-27s across all 3 scorecards. And after that, or before that for Villante, he's got a fight against Maurice Green, which we talked about before on the channel. It's a fight where Villante looks actually pretty good. He's out striking Green. He's probably winning the fight. It's 1-1 going to the third. He knocks down Green in the 3rd round. You're like, holy crap. Jan Villante's going to win this fight. Gets to the ground. He's in full mount. Green just throws on some weird arm triangle from the bottom. And Villante, out of pure exhaustion, just taps. So Green wins the fight, even though Villante, if he just, stayed on top for about 2 more minutes, or a minute, he would have won the decision 29-28, but he tapped. So Green gets the submission win from bottom, from mount. Weird. Before that for Villante, he fought against Michael Zolshashek. He got knocked out with a nice shot to the body a minute into the fight. Before that, Villante barely won a split decision against Ed Herman, lost to Sam Alvey before that, and it's been trouble for Jan Villante. What does Villante do very well? He strikes well. Well, okay, I wouldn't say very well, but he's a good striker. He's taking on a guy in Chris Barnett, whose first fight in the UFC, they did him no favors. Ben Rothwell is a top 20, borderline top 15 fighter in the world. Chris Barnett just didn't get the better of that fight. Ben Rothwell's out striking him. Eventually, Rothwell gets a takedown in the 2nd round, takes him down, gets him with, it was a Bravo choke, guillotine, same thing basically, a little bit different. Ben Rothwell will tell you it's a different choke, but Rothwell comes in there, gets the submission, finishes him 2 minutes into the second round. It's a tough fight for Barnett. You don't really want to put anything against him in that one. Rothwell, he's a good fighter. Rothwell, I mean, I think he's won, what, 4 of his last 5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3 of his last 4, but Rothwell's winning fights. Barnett, that's a tough fight for him in his first fight in the promotion, but Barnett is a good striker. You're going to see Barnett go in there. You're going to see him. He has got 16 wins by knockout in his career. Villante is going to strike with them as well. You're going to see a striking fight. Someone's probably getting knocked out, and it's going to be Jan Villante. Chris Barnett's going to knock him out pretty early in this fight. I mean, something about the quick finishes in this one, but you look at the way Chris Barnett fights, he's going to come out there. He does a lot of flashy stuff. He's trying to get the knockout very early in the fight. I just don't see Jan Villante be able to get out of that first round and really work his striking in the second and third. I think Barnett's going to win this first round, and I don't think Villante's going to get much offense off in this one. It's not like Villante's going to be able to shoot for a takedown, because that's not what Villante does. Villante's going to stand there, he's going to brawl with you. Barnett's willing to do the same. Barnett throws a lot of nice kicks. He's going to throw a lot of heavy shots. All Chris Barnett in this one. Another first round knockout. Villante's 17-13. He's got a losing record in the promotion. This is going to be all Chris Barnett. He picks up the win, and I think that'll do it for Jan Villante in the UFC. But first round KO finish for Chris Barnett. The UFC knows what they're doing for this fight. I hate to start off the prediction like this, but I mean, it's Jordan Williams and Ian Garry. Ian Garry, the nickname's the future for a reason. He's the Cage Warriors welterweight champion. He won his last fight by unanimous decision, beating Jack Grant for the title. But this guy's 7-0, coming in from Ireland. He's 23 years old. He's young. He's one of these new Cage Warriors guys, and this guy might be a problem in the UFC. Ian Garry, he can strike, but he can also get fights to the ground as well. He's a dangerous striker who can also get fights to the ground. He's good, man. Ian Garry is good. Guy throws a lot of good head kicks. His striking's very good. His ground game, when he needs it's good. His ground and pound's tremendous as well. They know what they're doing. This guy's 7-0. They're trying to get him in the UFC with the win, which I think Ian Garry could beat a lot of guys in the UFC. He's only 23, but Jordan Williams is that guy that you can get him to beat. No offense to Jordan Williams, but Ian Garry, I mean, this guy, again, he's a 170 pounder, excuse me, not 185. He's a 170 pounder. 6'3", the man's a beast. For Jordan Williams, he's coming off back-to-back losses. And now, his one win in the Contender Series is good. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you lose to Mickey Gall, and nothing against Mickey Gall, but I said this in my video predicting Gall and Jordan Williams. Is Mickey Gall really a UFC caliber fighter? I don't know. His ground game's good, given, yes, he does have a good ground game. Mickey Gall submitted CM Punk. CM Punk's back in AEW. He's undefeated in AEW. He's 6-0. Again, it's a joke, but still. Mickey Gall shouldn't be able to come out there, shouldn't be able to kind of outstrike you and eventually get a takedown and finish you by rear naked choke in the first round, right? Because Mickey Gall stuns Jordan Williams, he gets a rear naked choke and he finishes him in the first. Not what you want to see, right? Not what you want to see at all. And then before that for Williams, he fought Nasruddin Imavov. Okay, Imavov's very good. We're going to talk about him in a second when he fights Edmund Shahbazyan later on this card. But it was all Nasruddin Imavov in that one. Winning that one, unanimous decision, no problems. Outstruck Williams, took him down in the fight as well. It was all Imavov in that one. Now, the one fight that does get me, though, with Williams is the win over Gregory Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez is a guy who came into the UFC, and he's undefeated. He won the LFA title, comes in, beats Dusko Todorovic, and he beats Junior Park in that incredible fight with Junior Park and Rodriguez, excuse me. And by the way, picked that one right. Second round TKO finish for Rodriguez, but still, Rodriguez is a tremendous fighter. Jordan Williams in their fight came in there. He knocked him out in the first round. That was in his third try on the Contender. But man, I mean, you got a guy in Jordan Williams here who, like, you saw Mickey Gall out-grapple him. You saw Mickey Gall have his moments on the feet against him, and Nasruddin Imavov had moments on the feet against him as well. So if Williams can't land a big shot against Ian Garry early in this one, he's got no shot of winning it. I really don't think so. Gary's coming out of Sanford MMA, tremendous gym over there. And I just think if he has to result in the ground game, he can. That's a easy pathway to victory. I saw Mickey Gall do it. Ian Garry can do the same thing, but we're going to see the striking on showcase for Ian Garry, and Ian Garry's striking is better than Jordan Williams. His ground game is better than Jordan Williams. All around, Ian Garry's got this fight won. Again, the UFC knows what they're doing. Big prospect coming over from Cage Warriors, former champ down there. He's a big prospect coming to the UFC. They think they got a star in their hands with Ian Garry. I think they probably will. This guy's 6'3", 170 pounds. He's a big guy for 170, big reach for 170. All Ian Garry beating Jordan Williams. I think he will get the finish in the second round by TKO. Another finish. The UFC knows what they're doing in their return to MSG. Ian Garry, second round TKO. Very interesting fight. Edmund Shahbazyan, Nasruddin Imavov. Again, they do Shahbazyan no favors. Because this is a guy in Shahbazyan, he loses to Derek Brunson. Okay, Derek Brunson's about to fight in a number one contenders fight against Jared Cannonier. You lose that fight, that's all right. Again, Shahbazyan's only 23 years old. We're talking about Ian Garry coming to the UFC. Big prospect. Shahbazyan is ranked and he's 23 years old. They give him Jack Hermanson after. I mean, why? Why are we doing this to this guy? You just saw him, Brunson, land takedowns at will against him. You're going to do the same. Hermansson's going to do the same exact thing, and what did Hermansson do? He took him down. He got 10-8 rounds, I think, in the third. Second round looked good. Yeah, Shahbazyan won the first, but, I mean, that was all Jack Hermansson. Shahbazyan tired at the end of that fight. If Hermansson really put it on him in that third round, he probably could have got him out of there. So, that's where we're at with Edmund Shahbazyan. Now, he comes in the UFC, he's looking great. Picks up against Darren Stewart, where you look at the fight, you're like, damn, Shahbazyan's wrestling's great. He gets 8 takedowns in that fight. Yeah, he barely wins by split decision because Stewart outstrikes him, but still, Shahbazyan looks good. His next fight, he knocks out Charles Burton in 30 seconds. Then he submits Jack Marshman a minute into their fight, and then he knocks out Brad Tavares, who's a ranked fighter, in 2 minutes. So he's on a big 4-fight winning streak in the UFC. They give him Brunson, he loses. Okay, that's fine, but then they give him Jack Hermansson, which is a horrible stylistic matchup for Edmund Shahbazyan. Now, Nasruddin Imavov, though, is a guy who's going to stand there and he's going to strike with him. Imavov probably not going to try to land a takedown against Shahbazyan. Now, I know he did against Heinich, where Imavov did win that fight, TKO'd him in the second round, but you saw the fight with Imavov and Phil Hawes, and that fight was weird, because Hawes, tired at the end of that fight. What Imavov has that Shahbazyan doesn't is great gas tank. Imavov is going to be there from the minute that bell rings to the second it ends. First to third. I mean, Imavov will always be there in the fight. The fight against Phil Hawes. Hawes is wrestling really well. He wins wins the first couple rounds in that fight. He's got 11 minutes of control in that one. But in the third round, man, Hawes is in trouble. Because Imavov comes in there, almost finishes him late in the third round. If he had like a minute more, Imavov probably would have won the fight. So Hawes is almost knocked down in that third round. One judge gives, I think it was Camijo, yeah, he gave him a 10-8 in that last round. The other two gave it only a 10-9, so Hawes still won the fight by split decision, but it was a close fight just because of the damage Imavov put on in that third round. So that just shows you, say Shahbazyan does result to the wrestling, and say Shahbazyan can land the takedowns like the Darren Stewart fight. Say he does, okay? He does that for the first 2 rounds. You know Shahbazyan will always tire. I mean, I hate to say that, but just because of the last 2 fights, but Shahbazyan probably will tire in this fight, just considering the fight style he does fight, be it the takedowns or be it his aggressive striking nature. He's going to tire towards the end of this fight. You know Imavov's going to be there in the third, so I don't know, man, because can Shahbazyan get out of that third round with Imavov, where you know Imavov will probably go for it and probably try to finish the fight? Jordan Williams fight came up very well in that last round against Williams. Eventually won that one by unanimous decision. Again, there was no question about who won that fight towards the end of it, but still, Imavov looked good in the third round. The Heinich fight, he finishes him in the second. It's a tough fight for Edmund Shahbazyan, because how Shahbazyan win? Okay, he lands a big shot in the first round, or he gets in the ground and he works his wrestling while he banks those first 2 rounds. And then you're just hoping you get out of the third. I don't know, man. It's tough to pick Edmund Shahbazyan right now. Going into this prediction video, I was going to take Shahbazyan, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't know how I'm picking is Nasruddin Imavov in this one. Now, I get how Shahbazyan's strategy is going to be in this one. It's head movement, joking. But still, it's going to be the takedown, right? Again, though, like, I just don't think Shahbazyan in that third round will be able to get out of it with Imavov. Just because you saw the way he fought in the Hermansson fight. He looked terrible in the third round. The Brunson fight, he looked terrible towards the end of the second, and he looked horrible in the third round. I know it's because Herb Dean let him go that third round, and he just got knocked out anyway. But you look at his last 2 performances in the third round, they're horrible. So if, yeah, he banks those first 2, what condition will Edmund Shahbazyan be in the third round where Imavov, you know he's going to come up firing, and you know that Imavov is going to be trying to get the finish in the third round. So I'm looking at it right now. I think Imavov's got 2 ways to win. Either he lands something early, or that same thing I've just been talking about, he finishes him in the third. For Shahbazyan, I think his pathway to victory is either lands a big bomb in the first, or he can, if he's able to land that takedown in the first round, you go back to it in the second round, you try to bank those 2 rounds, and you just try to do anything possible to get out that third round. You bank those 2 rounds, you're up 2-1, you win the fight. I don't want to rely on that, so I'm going to take Nasruddin Imavov. I like Imavov to be Edmund Shahbazyan. It's tough. Shahbazyan is going to lose his 3rd fight in a row. They're not going to cut him, obviously, but for the love, love of God, give Edmund Shahbazyan an easy fight next. Like, give him a Jordan Williams. I don't, like, literally give him Jordan Williams. Give him, like, Mickey Gall or something, because get this man back on track. He's 23 years old. He's still very young. I mean, still, guy's got a great future. So, he hasn't even hit his prime yet. So, I wouldn't give up on Edmund Shahbazyan just yet. I just feel like this fight, though, is built for Nasruddin Imavov to win. So it's either, do you think Imavov gets the finish early, or do you think he gets the 3rd round knockout? I'm going to tend towards the 3rd round knockout. I'll go Nasruddin Imavov to finish Edmund Shahbazyan by TKO on the 3rd. Another knockout finish, but that's where I like this one going. Now we've got Chris Curtis taking on Phil Hawes. Curtis finally in the UFC after stints in the PFL, after fighting in XMMA twice. Curtis now in the UFC. But they're giving him Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes is very good. And I know we talked about the fight against Imavov where he's controlling him. for a long time in that fight. He controls him for 11 minutes in that fight and almost loses it late. But look at his last fight, that big win over Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus couldn't really do anything, and you just saw Kyle Daukaus, say what you want about it, he technically submitted Kevin Holland in his last fight. I know, headbutt and everything, but Daukaus is a good fighter. Phil Hawes beat him bad. And the Imavov fight too, if it wasn't for that late fury by Imavov, Hawes was winning that fight pretty easily too. Jacob Malkoun fight knocks him out in 18 seconds. Phil Hawes has been great so far in the UFC. He's undefeated so far in the promotion. He's looked very good. He had that loss to Julian Marquez in the Contender, but that was all the way back in 2017, so you don't want to put too much into that fight. Hawes is coming out aggressive, comes out a strike, and he's looking to end the fight. Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to take on Deron Winn. I thought that was going to be all Phil Hawes. I thought he was going to be able to stuff the takedowns, and he's going to be able to finish him in the first round. He's supposed to fight Chris Curtis on that date. Curtis couldn't make weight, so Hawes declined the fight, and now we're here in November for this one. Curtis, though, you know, he fought in the Contender, he picked up a win. He went to PFL, he won a fight there, and then they matched him up horribly. He ran into Magomed Karakov in the first round. The second round, he lost, and then he got Magomed Karakov again, lost by unanimous decision. Then later in the same night, he ran to Ray Cooper III. He got knocked out by Ray Cooper III. Okay, Magomed Karamov and Ray Cooper are the two guys who fought for the PFL championship. They fought twice. They've split the series so far. Probably get a third fight next year, honestly, if Ray Cooper doesn't hit free agency. If whatever the PFL is saying that Ray Cooper's not a free agent yet. I hope he's not. I hope Cooper goes to the UFC. But Ray Cooper, Magomed Karamov, two tremendous fighters. Those two guys, two of the best guys PFL has. Ray Cooper, Magomed Karamov, good fighters. No shame in losing to those guys. So Curtis since then picks up big wins on XMMA, you know, that promotion where they bring in a lot of former UFC guys. And yeah, he wins 2 fights over there, wins fights multiple promotions. Now he's in the UFC, he's taking on Phil Hawes. The problem is Phil Hawes should be fighting top 15 guys. Chris Curtis, no offense, is not a top 15 guy. Now, can Chris Curtis go in there? Could he land a big shot against Phil Hawes and put him out in the first round? Sure, he's always going to have a puncher's chance. Other than that, though, this is all Phil Hawes. It's the wrestling out of Phil Hawes. It's the striking out of Phil Hawes. The power from Phil Hawes. I just don't see how Chris Curtis wins this one other than that big first round shot. And if he doesn't get that, I think Phil Hawes is going to have this one easy. I think Phil Hawes might even go to the wrestling in the first round and then the second and third strike with Chris Curtis and be able to finish him probably late in the fight. But I don't even know if he's going to need that, man. I really think Phil Hawes should be fighting the top 15 guys in the weight class, not a guy in Chris Curtis who's making his UFC debut, who's lost to the 2 top guys in the PFL welterweight division. We're going Phil Hawes to beat Chris Curtis. I think he gets it done in the second round by TKO. So many TKO finishes on this card, but I just think Hawes is that much better of a striker than Curtis. Again, Curtis has got the power. Just don't think he's going to be able to execute against Phil Hawes. Going Phil Hawes, second round TKO win to improve to 4-0 in the UFC. Big time fight I am pumped up for. It's the former title challenger, Raging Iaquinta. He is back for the first time since his loss to Dan Hooker in October of 2019, and he's taking on the king, Bobby Green, who... Let's talk about Bobby Green, Rafael Fiziev first. I thought Bobby Green won the fight. I thought he got the second round. I thought he got the third round. I thought Bobby Green won. He outstruck Fiziev by over 40 strikes. And when those scorecards were read, when you hear the 30-27, 29-28, 29-28, I was like, oh my goodness, they gave Bobby Green the fight because the first round was close. I thought Fiziev won. The second round, I thought Green barely edged down. I thought everyone thought that Bobby Green won the third round. So when I hear the scorecards, I'm like, holy crap, Bobby Green's won the fight because there's no chance in hell you get scored 30-27 for Fiziev. I don't know what that judge was watching. You go to the third round, Green outstrikes Fiziev by about 30 strikes. He's got Fiziev in trouble late in the fight. I don't get how Green didn't win every single round in that fight. I mean, the first round's close too. You made the case Bobby Green won that fight in the first round. I don't know how Bobby Green didn't beat Rafael Fiziev. You look at the numbers, you rewatch that fight and tell me Bobby Green did not beat Rafael Fiziev. Bobby Green's a good fighter. Bobby Green's in the top 15. I don't care if he doesn't have a ranking next to his name. That guy's a tremendous fighter. Now, you're not going to finish Iaquinta, though. Iaquinta's such a tough guy to finish. I mean, the chin this man's got. The Dan Hooker fight, he takes a beating. He gets knocked down by Dan Hooker. He stays in the fight. He loses by decision. The Donald Cowboy Cerrone fight, maybe the last true, very, very great cowboy performance you were ever going to see. Cowboy goes in there. He outstrikes Iaquinta. Gets a takedown late in that fight. Knocks him down twice. Tremendous fight for Cowboy. He almost finishes Iaquinta late in that 5th round. He doesn't get the win, but it's okay. Iaquinta doesn't get the win, but he stays in the fight. Cowboy again wins the fight, but it's just so hard to put away Raging Al. Kevin Lee couldn't do it, even though Iaquinta won that fight. Khabib couldn't finish Iaquinta, even though he was striking with him, or he was grappling with him, for most of the fight. Khabib was mauling him, but still Iaquinta stayed in the fight. He did not get finished in that one. That was really the big thing for Iaquinta going into the Kevin Lee fight, and going to the Cowboy fight, even going to the Dan Hooker fight. I was like, well, hey, Raging Al went there. He didn't get finished by Khabib, so he should be able to stay in there with a lot of these guys, and that's true. I don't think Iaquinta's going to get finished by Bobby Green, and I don't think Iaquinta's going to be able to get a finish against Green either. But you know what Iaquinta brings. I mean, he's got a tremendous chin. He's always going to stay in the fight. His striking is very good. His grappling has cost him in the past, but you're not going to be grappling with Bobby Green. It's just not going to happen. Green's not going to go shoot for doubles, even though he did against Fiziev once. He didn't get it, but he's not going to be going to the ground. He's not going to be trying to out-grapple his opponent. So this is going to be a striking fight. I think it's a tremendous fight. You got Bobby Green, who's a tremendous striker. He knows how to get out of distance, and he knows how to avoid the strikes very well. That patent and shoulder roll that he's always going to use. You got Raging Al, again, good striker, very good boxing. But this is a guy who hasn't fought since 2019. He was on the same card where Adesanya beat Whitaker for the title. Since that time, we've scheduled Adesanya-Whitaker 2. And oh, by the way, Whitaker's won 3 fights in between. Adesanya's beat Vettori, he's beat Costa, and he's beat Yoel Romero. Like, it's been a while since Iaquinta's fought. He had that submission underground fight against Mike Perry, which he lost. This is going to be Bobby Green, man. This is a Bobby Green win. Again, I thought he beat Fiziev. Rewatch that fight and tell me Bobby Green didn't win that one. Bobby Green beat Thiago Moises too, and you know what? Bobby Green right now should be on a 5-fight winning streak, and no offense Raging Al Iaquinta, but Bobby Green should be on a 5-fight winning streak, looking at maybe like the top 5, top 7 of the weight class. I still think Bobby Green's great for being 35 years old. He's going to go in there, he's going to dominate Raging Al Iaquinta. Bobby Green, 30-27, he wins every single minute of this fight, he wins every single round of this fight. Give me Bobby Green 30-27, he beats Raging Al Iaquinta. Get this man officially into the top 15. Said it earlier, but I mean, you know what the UFC's doing here. Andreas Michailidis, Alex Pereira. You know who Alex Pereira is. He's the only guy who's knocked out Israel Adesanya ever. Given it was a kickboxing fight, but Pereira is a well-accomplished kickboxer. Tremendous fighter. Hasn't lost kickboxing since 2017 in Glory. He's 3-1 in MMA. The UFC has signed him, and you know they're going to build him up to be the guy who has finished and beat Israel Adesanya. He hasn't just beat him once, he beat him twice. He beat him by decision back in 2016, then knocked him out in 2017. They know what they're doing here. Alex Pereira is 34 years old. He's late in his MMA career, but they gave him a guy, Andreas Michailidis, who Michailidis isn't great. Okay, he fought Modestas Bukauskas in his first fight. Bukauskas isn't even in the UFC anymore. They cut Bukauskas since. I mean, Bukauskas came in there. He lost 3 fights to Krut, Ozil and Roundtree. He hasn't won since. Michailidis gets outstruck in that one. He got the elbows at the end of the fight, or the end of the first round, where Michailidis is going for the takedown. Bukauskas, big downwards elbows. He finishes Bukauskas late in that first round. They stop the fight. So Michailidis can't go into the second. That's all right. KB Buller fight. KB Buller wasn't a UFC caliber fighter. And what has KB Buller done since? He won a fight where I believe a judge gave him like a 30-24 scorecard. I think that was inaccurate, but they read it out to be a 30-24. It's a dominant performance in the last fight for Buller. Since then, he fought a UAE Warriors. That card just a couple days ago. He lost by DQ. Tough, but on the same card where I believe Ali Al-Casey, former UFC fighter, the only Jordan UFC fighter, just won the UAE Warriors Championship. That guy, I believe, won the Titan Championship too. Watch out, Ali Al-Casey probably be back in the UFC very soon. But Michailidis beats KB Buller. Okay, KB Buller did nothing in that fight. Like it was a sparring match. That was such a boring fight. Michailidis lands a takedown in the first round. Sure, it's a sloppy takedown. He gets it. KB Buller just wasn't great. And like. Sure, will Michailidis shoot on Pereira? He has to, because if he strikes with Alex Pereira, Pereira's going to knock him out in the first round. So Michailidis, I think, will give Pereira maybe a little bit of trouble in this fight. I think, he's going to result to the wrestling in the first round. And if he does land, okay, maybe we'll put Pereira in some trouble. Pereira, though, probably will be able to get up. I don't think Michailidis' ground control is all that great. Because I believe KB Buller, if I'm not mistaken, reversed him in their fight. I think he did. I need to rewatch that fight between Buller and Michailidis, but all I remember is just a boring sparring fight, basically. Pereira's coming there and knock his head off. His kickboxing, great. I mean, I think I said earlier that he hasn't lost a glory fight since 2017. He just lost one, but still. The guy's a monster on the feet. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble with Andreas Michailidis, especially on the feet. Yeah, Michailidis will throw some stuff, go throw some spinning stuff. He knocked out, he got a win on time with the spinning back kick. Sure, but like Alex Pereira, that's his game, bro. Flying knees, kicks, that's all this guy does. Tremendous left hook out of Alex Pereira. big knockouts. His last MMA win was by left hook. LFA back in 2020 in November of that year. Left hook finish in the first round against Thomas Powell. Pereira is going to come in there, and it's going to be a striking showcase. The UFC knows what they're doing again. He's the only guy to knock out Israel Adesanya. They want that guy on the roster. If he can put together maybe at least like 3 wins, the way Adesanya is clearing out that weight class, and if he beats Robert Whittaker, and he beats the winner of Derek Brunson and Jared Cannonier, I'm serious. If Alex Pereira can rack up 3 wins, they're going to give him Israel Adesanya, and they're not going to give him that tough a fight for his first 3 fights because they want that Pereira Adesanya fight. And you know what? Adesanya will probably win because he's not a pure. He's probably going to win, but I wouldn't completely rule out Pereira in that fight because Adesanya's not going to take him down, so it's going to be a kickboxing fight again. Adesanya would probably win, but all I'm saying is that fight would be competitive and it would be interesting. But like they need to match up Pereira against the right guys, and if he can stuff a basic takedown from Michailidis, he should be pretty well set in the UFC. So we're gonna go to Alex Pereira to win this fight. I think he gets it done by second round TKO. I know there's TKO finish, but should be all Alex Pereira in this one. They know what they're doing. Michailidis, not the best wrestler, not the best kickboxer. All Pereira to win this one. Really like this fight to open up the main card. You have got the answer, the former lightweight champion of the world, Frankie Edgar, taking on Marlon Chito Vera. For Frankie Edgar, man, oh my goodness, he's 40 years old now. Edgar has turned 40 in October. He's coming off that brutal knockout finish to Corey Sandhagen, a fight where I picked Frankie Edgar to win. I thought Edgar's wrestling. I thought he was just going to go in there. I thought he was going to out-wrestle Corey Sandhagen for 3 rounds. Didn't happen. He's going to shoot for a takedown. Sandhagen timed it perfectly, knocked him out cold. Stiff as a board. Just absolutely yikes. It sucks because I will say right now, I'm a huge Frankie Edgar fan. So if there's any bias in this pick, you know where it's coming from. But Frankie Edgar in that fight, again, got knocked out immediately. Now, he looked good in the Pedro Munoz fight. I thought he won. Split decision fight. He wins the fight. Great. Lands takedowns in that one, given he barely got the takedown, so you didn't really control him for that long, but still, he landed 2 takedowns, did his own striking. I thought he won 3 rounds. Cool. Chan Sung Jung fight. Okay. Got knocked out. He took this fight on super short notice. Just not much to say out of that one, and that's Frankie Edgar at 145. 135 Frankie Edgar, a little bit different. Again, though, he's 40 years old, finally making the cut down to 135, and it will be his 3rd time making the cut down, but man, I mean, I could definitely see this fight, though, very similar to the Yair Rodriguez-Frankie Edgar fight. Now, Marlon Vera is not the point that Yair Rodriguez was at his career in that point in time where Frankie Edgar was coming to that one. Yair Rodriguez was the huge underdog coming in that, or not huge underdog, he's a huge prospect coming in that one. A lot of people thought he could be able to beat Frankie Edgar, passing the torch type fight, right? Okay, Edgar comes in there, just absolutely dominates him wrestling for 3 rounds. It wasn't a competition. Marlon Chito Vera, though, his wrestling's good. So, I don't think that's just going to be a Frankie Edgar wrestling masterclass in this one. It's not going to be. Marlon Vera in his last fight lands 2 beautiful takedowns to Davey Grant. He keeps the fight on the ground against Grant. He wins the fight by striking him, out-controlling him on the ground. Now, I will bring this up to you, though. Davey Grant did land a takedown against Marlon Chito Vera in that fight. Second round lands a nice takedown, has control for about 2 minutes in that one. That's the only round that was scored for Davey Grant. So, it's not like Marlon Vera's defensive wrestling is the best. He's got 69% takedown defense, which is pretty good, 42% accuracy. Okay. Still, though, Frankie Edgar, if Davey Grant took down Marlon Chito Vera, Frankie Edgar should be able to do the same. And it's not like Frankie Edgar is going to be taken down by Marlon Chito Vera. I don't think that's going to happen to you. I don't think that's going to happen to Edgar. Who was the last guy to take down Frankie Edgar in the UFC? Like, think about that. Like, when was the last time Edgar got taken down? Like, Charles Oliveira couldn't do it. Swanson couldn't do it. Brian Ortega just knocked him out, so that didn't happen. The last guy to take him down, you got to go all the way back to Benson Henderson in their title fight. He took him down once and didn't have top control for all that long in that fight. He had it for 30 seconds. So then you got to go back to the fight against Gray Maynard, where it was the draw, the second time around where he fought Maynard. Maynard landed 3 takedowns in that one, but prime Gray Maynard's wrestling, tremendous. That fight was all the way back, what was the year? I mean, January 1st, 2011. So it's not like Frankie Edgar is going to be taken down. The problem is Frankie Edgar's striking. Now, Frankie Edgar's striking. He's a solid striker. He's a striker that relies on the volume. He's always going to be in your face. He's always going to be pushing the pressure. You know, he's going to always be pushing the pace. You know that Frankie Edgar will always be in the fight no matter how tired he is because he's got a tremendous gas tank, given he's 40 years old now, but he's got a tremendous gas tank and he will always be in the fight. The amount of 5-round fights this guy's been in is tremendous, but I believe he's got the most octagon time too in UFC history. It's just that, is his chin still there though? Because when you take a knockout like that to Corey Sandhagen, that is tough, man. I know it's only the 2nd time he's ever been knocked down, the 3rd time, he's ever been knocked down in his career, but the other one's the Brian Ortega fight, and the other one I believe is, I don't remember the 3rd one off the top of my head, but, it's Chan Sung Jung, excuse me, there it is. He's been knocked out 3 times in the last, 5 fights, 6 fights, and the Sandhagen one's a brutal one. The zombie one is, okay, referee should have stopped the fight earlier, but it's the Santana one that's tough. That fight was in February. I mean, if you're 39 years old and taking that shot, I just don't know, because Marlon Vera's got power as well. I mean, the way he finished on O'Malley was more of the leg kicks that finished O'Malley, but eventually the elbows from the guard finishing O'Malley. But Marlon Vera has got knockout power as well. The Frankie Saenz fight will show it to you. The quick knockout in the Saenz fight was huge. Man, I don't know. It's a close one, because I do think Edgar's going to be able to land the takedown this one. I think eventually he will get it, because again, if Davey Grant can take down Marlon Vera, I think Frankie Edgar will as well. And I think the pathway to victory for Edgar in this one is through the takedowns. And I wouldn't say Edgar's striking is bad at all. I wouldn't. I think Edgar's got good striking, and I think he can stay in there with Marlon Vera. My problem with Frankie Edgar, though, is his chin. It's not his striking. It's not if he can throw punches or not. It's not if he can land uppercuts, land elbows, land strikes. It's not that. It's just, can his chin stand there? Because you know Marlon Vera is going to land. You know Marlon Vera is going to land power shots. It's, can Frankie Edgar stay there, respond to it, and if he needs to, go back to the ground and work the takedowns? I'm going to say he can. Ever so slightly, I will go Frankie Edgar to beat Marlon Vera. I think he can. I think Edgar will be able to stay on the feet. I think his chin will hold up. I think it will. And I think Frankie Edgar is going to be able to land takedowns against Marlon Vera. I think he will win 2 out of the 3 rounds. I think the 1 round he doesn't win, Vera keeps it on the feet. I think Vera edges out the round on the feet striking. But I like Frankie Edgar to mix in the wrestling with the strikes. I think he'll bank 2 rounds. I think Frankie Edgar is going to win a decision fighting against Marlon Vera at 40 years of age. It's a classic Frankie Edgar fight. I think he gets the win. Improves to what? I mean, the man says so many fights in the UFC. Frankie Edgar improves to a record of 25 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw in his pro career. Fun fight at featherweight. You have got Shane Burgos taking on Billy Quarantillo. I like this fight. I mean, it's going to be a absolute striking war on the feet. That's simple. Now, Quarantillo does have the ground game. He can submit off his back, sure. But I mean, the Gavin Tucker fight got taken down 7 times. I don't think you're going to see Quarantillo looking the wrestling of this one. I think you're just going to see pure fireworks at this fight. Fight's flying under the radar for sure. Shane Burgos, don't be down on this guy. Do not be down on this guy at all. He lost to Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa, one of the best featherweights on the planet. Tremendous striking. I know he lost to Giga Chikadze, but Barbosa's tremendous. Burgos stayed in there. It was a tremendous fight. He lost at the very end. Okay, that's fine. It's going to happen to you. The Josh Emmett fight, I urge you to watch that. Josh Emmett, Shane Burgos is one of the best fights I've ever seen. Only reason it doesn't get talked about as one of the best fights ever is because it had no crowd. And that fight was tremendous, man. Burgos lands 128 significant strikes in that one. Emmett's got 127. It was the knockdowns, though, from Emmett, and it was the takedown that Emmett did land. Is that what did it for him in that fight? But Burgos hangs in there. It's a tremendous fight. It's a fight where Emmett tore his ACL. Now Emmett's going to fight Dan Ige later in the year. Pumped for that fight as well. But Shane Burgos stays in there with Emmett. Not a bad performance at all. The Makwan Amirkhani fight, I mean, that was all Shane Burgos. Now we just saw Amirkhani get knocked out by Leron Murphy, but Burgos dominated that fight. He had the awesome fight with Cub Swanson. It could have gone either way, but they gave it to Burgos by split decision. He's got that fight against Calvin Kattar. Tremendous fight as well. He's in the fight, but Kattar just lands that nice shot at the end of the fight that wins it for him in the 3rd round. Burgos is always in the fight. His fight style is so fun to watch. And he's taking on a guy in Billy Quarantillo who's more of the same. Quarantillo's always going to be in your face. Quarantillo's always going to be there. He's always going to strike with you. Quarantillo's last performance is a win over Gabriel Benitez. He finishes him in the 3rd round. It was all Billy Q in that one. Now, Gabriel Benitez, though, there's a point in that fight where he does knock down Billy Quarantillo. Quarantillo, though, gets back up and he finishes him late in the fight. He loses to Gavin Tucker again. He got taken down 7 times in that fight. Whatever Gavin Tucker does, what Gavin Tucker does. Quarantillo before that beat Kyle Nelson, finished him in the 3rd round, beat Spike Carlisle before that, beat Jacob Kilborn before that, and they beat Campbell Kirk in the contender as well, finishing Kirk in the 3rd round, who's a good striker of his own. Kirk again, though, looking for the takedown, couldn't get it. Burgos kept the fight, Quarantillo kept the fight standing and finished him. But it's simple. Who do you think is a better striker? Like, think about this. Burgos or Quarantillo? Who is the better striker out of these two? It's Shane Burgos. Now, is Shane Burgos' chin all there, though? Because that fight against Edson Barbosa was kind of scary, though, because he gets rocked. He's in the fight. He's standing there, and then all of a sudden, he just, like, kind of, data 5,000, just goes back, hits the fence, and he's out. That's concerning, but the fight was all the way back in May. I'm not too concerned. He took some bombs from Emmett, sure, and then he got knocked out by Kattar. I think Burgos' chin's going to hold up. I'm not too concerned about it. And I just, again, though, think about it. Who do you think is a better striker, Quarantillo or Burgos? It's Shane Burgos. You know it is. I think this fight's going to be competitive. I think it's going to be great, though. I think this one's going to go all 3 rounds. I think it's going to be a fun fight. But I like Shane Burgos to win this one. Underrated candidate for fight of the night, definitely. But we like Shane Burgos to win this one. I think he gets it done by decision. Definitely a number 1 contenders fight here at lightweight. I don't care that DC is trying to push for Islam Makhachev to get that fight. Makhachev needs to fight Beneil Dariush, and the winner of that fight will get a title shot. But right now, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, all the makings of a tremendous fight. All the makings of a fight of the night. I'm so pumped for this one because you know what Justin Gaethje brings. You know what Michael Chandler brings. I don't want to be a downer on this fight, but like, I don't know if this is going to be the war you're anticipating. Now, if it is that war, and it could happen, I don't think it's going to last that long. Because if these two dudes come out there, caution to win, they just throw for the first round, someone's getting knocked down in the first round, it's going to be Michael Chandler. Okay? Justin Gaethje and Chandler, if they just go out there and just, crazy stuff in the first round, they don't care if they're going to get hit, they just go out there and they go for it. Okay, Justin Gaethje's going to knock out Michael Chandler in the first round. Because I just don't know where Chandler's chin's at. This is a guy, Michael Chandler, got knocked out by Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira by no means the best striker. He's not, okay? Charles Oliveira in his fight against Dustin Poirier in December, no chance he wants to be on the feet with Dustin Poirier because he knows Poirier will probably finish him. So Oliveira in that fight against Poirier is going to he's going to try to take Poirier down. If he can't, okay, Dustin Poirier is going to be the world champion. Chandler fight against Dan Hooker, Hooker didn't do anything in that fight. He knocked him out, okay. Chandler before that had the fight against Benson Henderson. He knocks him out. Didn't eat any damage in that one. He beat Sidney Outlaw. He gets knocked out by Pitbull. Brent Burns' fight when he gets knocked out doesn't count. So I believe it was the arm. He gets knocked out by Will Brooks. I mean, he takes some damage in the Benson Henderson fight that went all 5 rounds that he did barely win by split decision. He knocked out Tricky Pitbull. He's going to fight Weili for the title in Ireland, I do believe, on Friday, which is cool. Excited for that Bellator card. But, I mean, man, I just, if that happens, though, if it's a war on the feet with Gaethje and Chandler, and they're just absolutely throwing, I think Gaethje's going to finish him. I don't think anyone has the power Gaethje does at 155, except for Michael Chandler. But you know how good Gaethje's chin is. Gaethje can take so much damage. You saw this man take Tony Ferguson's best shots. He took Edson Barbosa's best shots. He took Dustin Poirier's best shots. And he took Eddie Alvarez's best shots. You know how many strikes it took Dustin Poirier to finish Justin Gaethje with? 174. How many did it take Eddie Alvarez? 155. I don't think one punch is going to end Justin Gaethje's night against Michael Chandler. I think one punch from Justin Gaethje, though, can end the night of Michael Chandler, just because I'm not all of that. I don't think Chandler's chin's all that great, considering he just got knocked out by a guy who's pure jiu-jitsu guy in Charles Oliveira. That's not putting anything against Oliveira. It was a tremendous left hook that he did land, but if that was Justin Gaethje in that spot, I don't think Gaethje goes down. Michael Chandler was a punch away from winning the world championship, and then we'd be looking at Chandler versus Poirier in December. If he lands one more shot when Oliveira's trying to grab a leg, trying to hold on, he wins that one. If Chandler doesn't engage in the ground game with Charles Oliveira, he wins the fight. When he's going for the ground and pound, if he doesn't go into his half guard and kind of just, working more ground and pound, if he doesn't do that, he makes Oliveira stand up in that first round. Michael Chandler was going to knock out Charles Oliveira, and he was going to win by first round knockout. Unfortunately, it did not go his way, and yeah, if he beats Justin Gaethje here, he'll be up next. Now, it's not like Justin Gaethje's automatically going to win this fight, because this is where Chandler's, I don't know if he's going to do it. His best pathway to victory is through wrestling. I know we're hyping this fight up as a striking, just masterpiece. If Michael Chandler goes in there, he takes down Justin Gaethje in the first round, Chandler's winning the fight because he's going to do it again in the second, and he's going to do it again in the third. And I know we're questioning, is Justin Gaethje's ground game all that great? Because we saw him in the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight. Khabib's a different monster, but still, Michael Chandler's such an explosive wrestler. Coming out of Missouri, when he wrestled in Missouri in college, I think that's Chandler's best shot to win this fight. So it's all going to depend on this. If Michael Chandler does decide, all right, you know what? I'm gonna have a wrestling heavy approach to this fight. That's what I'm gonna do. If he can land that takedown in the first round, I don't think Gaethje's gonna be able to stuff it in the second. I don't think that Gaethje's gonna be able to stuff it in the third. Gaethje looks so lost in the Khabib fight. Yes, it was against Khabib, so there's that. Take that what you want. But he looks so lost in that fight. To the point where if Chandler could land that takedown in the first, I would not be surprised if Chandler submits him in the first round. Even the second, even the third. That's why this is a risky fight for me. Because stand-up wise, I get the case for Chandler. Sure, he can knock out Gaethje in the first round, but when you think about it though, I'm not all that impressed with the chin of Michael Chandler, so I think Justin Gaethje would, and if they stand for the first round, I think Gaethje's going to knock out Chandler in the first round. It all comes down to if Michael Chandler can take down Justin Gaethje in the first round. If he does that, I think Chandler wins the fight. So you're going to know who's going to win this fight after the first round. Or honestly, within 3 minutes, you're going to know who's going to win this fight. You know who's going to win it. Because, if this fight's standing, I just don't think Michael Chandler's going to be able to just stand there and take the damage Justin Gaethje, you know Gaethje's going to give to him. Gaethje's going to work the leg kicks, he chops out the legs, and he's going to go back to the head, and he's going to try to finish you. So, That's the pick. Do you think Chandler's going to be able to get the takedowns, or do you think Justin Gaethje's going to knock out Chandler in the first, second round? I'm leaning towards Justin Gaethje. I think Gaethje gets the job done. I think he avoids the takedowns, and part of it is because I just don't know if Michael Chandler's going to go in there with the wrestling-heavy approach. I don't know, because is Chandler going to try to knock him out? If he does, all Gaethje. I don't want to bank on what I think needs to happen to win this fight. What I think needs to happen is Chandler lands a takedown, which probably will happen, but Justin Gaethje's still solid at defending takedowns. He is. He's not bad at stuffing him. And then once that happens, you need Chandler to make sure he can land it again in the second, again in the third, and he can still work on the top without letting Gaethje get up, which I don't think is going to be too much of a concern. So I think if Chandler gets Gaethje down, I don't think Gaethje's getting back up. But there's the world where Chandler's like, all right, I'm just going to strike with him, and I think Justin Gaethje's going to finish him that way. So I'm going Justin Gaethje. I think he's the best striker in the weight class. I'll say it. His all-around game is going to make him tough to fight those guys like Makhachev, like Oliveira, like Poirier. But in this fight alone, I think he beats Michael Chandler. I think he knocks him out in the first round. And I think he gets the winner of Poirier-Oliveira. And we'll see what happens. But Justin Gaethje, first-round knockout, gets back in the title fight next. Co-main event time is for the strawweight championship of the world. Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili, the rematch that. Why is it happening? It's because the UFC wants that big market in China. Obviously, the UFC is pulling for Zhang Weili to win this fight. But I don't know, man. Because I thought Rose Namajunas was going to beat Zhang Weili the first time. Did it happen? Yeah, she was an underdog and she won the fight. I mean, thank you. I picked that one right. You know what this fight reminds me of? It reminds me very much of the Joanna Rose Namajunas 2 fights, when they had those 2 fights. The first fight, okay, Rose, spectacular knockout. She finishes her in the first round. Rose Namajunas has 2 knockout wins in her career. They come both for world championships, Joanna and Zhang Weili. Her second fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. What happens? Rose comes in there, she outstrikes her for 25 minutes. Rose Namajunas wins the fight. I mean, what? You got 49-46 is all for the champion Rose Namajunas. She outstrikes Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She outvolumed Joanna, and that's what she needed to do to win the fight. How do I think Rose Namajunas beats Zhang Weili? I think she does the exact same thing. She outvolumes her. I don't think Rose is going to be trying to bank on that first round knockout again, which maybe it happens, sure, but the fight, we're talking about Zhang Weili and Rose Namajunas the first time. I thought Rose, I'll be honest, I thought she was going to have to go to the takedowns. I thought she was going to be able to out-grapple. She was going to need to out-grapple Zhang Weili to win the fight. That did not happen, but you saw that big knockout in the first round. You got the big side kick by Namajunas. Big head kick, excuse me. Again, I don't know if she's going to have to bank on that in this fight, but you saw how good her striking was in the Andrade fight. The second Andrade fight, it was great. The first Andrade fight, tremendous as well. The two Joanna fights, great. The Zhang Weili fight, great. Rose Namajunas' striking is tremendous, and she's got power too if she does need so. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Zhang Weili's striking is great too. Yeah, it is. 100% it is. You look at the fight where she had against Joanna. One of the greatest fights ever. Now, what is Joanna doing since then? I mean, she's saying, oh, I won't fight until I get a title fight. She's not getting a title fight next. Please fight Marina Rodriguez. Make it easy on everyone. But sure. Zhang Weili has a fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She fights well. She strikes well. She wins the fight. Same thing happened to Jessica Andrade fight. Actually, I'll say right now, I thought Joanna beat Zhang Weili in that fight, but it's okay. She beats Andrade. She knocks her out in 40 seconds. She just completely charges her with a big flurry of shots. She finishes her. Tisha Torres fight. Won by decision. She beat Jessica Aguilar by armbar. The fight was not competitive at all. And then she beat Danielle Taylor. She took her down, outstruck her. Wasn't that competitive of a fight. So I think you're going to see a stand-up affair. I think you are. Because I don't know if Rose is going to have to go to the takedown. I mean, Zhang Weili's never been taken down so far in the UFC, which there's that. But I think we're going to see a striking fight. And I think we have to really give a lot of credit to how good of a striking game Rose Namajunas does have. Because you look at, she outstrikes Joanna, she outstrikes Andrade. I don't care about the first Andrade fight. She was winning that fight until she got slammed on her head. I mean, that was just Jessica Andrade fighting the fight style she does, which is a lot of power, big offensive wrestling, and throws. Other than that, Rose Namajunas has not lost a striking fight really in her career. I mean, I guess the Carolina fight. It's a close fight. They barely gave it to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Okay. The fight I wanted to see was Carla Esparza, Rose Namajunas. I get Esparza's not the biggest name, and I get that's why they didn't do this fight, but that's such an intriguing fight, because, hey, that was the first title fight of the division. Esparza's a former champion. Oh, by the way, Rose Namajunas lost to Carla Esparza back in 2014. First, though, Namajunas has got to get through Zhang Weili, because you know that's the next fight is going to be Carla Esparza versus the winner of this fight, and let's hope they do Marina Rodriguez versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. The winner of that fight will get the winner of whoever gets out of Namajunas, Zhang Weili, and Carla Esparza. I think Zhang Weili is going to lose again to Rose Namajunas, though. I think Namajunas is going to beat her again. I don't see all the improvements that Zhang Weili has made since that first fight, and I get it. She just got knocked out. It's a flash knockout. It's a surprise knockout. Spectacular in the first minute. All around, though, Other than that, my prediction stays exactly the same, though, because I think Namajunas has got better striking, and if she has to go down to the ground, I think she will be able to get Weili down. If she has to. If it comes down to that, I think that's what she will have to do. If that's what she has to do, she will be able to do it, and I think she will be able to control Weili on the ground. I think her jiu-jitsu is better than Weili, so that stays a factor. But I still think she's got better striking. This fight just happened in April. This shouldn't be a rematch. The UFC's hoping Weili can just land one in the first round and beat Rose Namajunas. That's not going to happen. Rose Namajunas is going to outvolume her for 5 rounds. I think Rose Namajunas is going to win 50-45. She's going to win every single round of this fight. Maybe Weili will win one, but nah, I'm giving Rose Namajunas a 50-45 decision in this one. I don't think it's all that competitive. It's a striking affair, but Rose Namajunas retains her strawweight championship and still the strawweight champion of the world. Bring on Carla Esparza, the rematch. But yeah, give me Thug Rose to retain her belt. It is time for the main event of the evening from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Here we go. The rematch, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. One of the greatest fights I've ever watched. Here we go, man. Okay, it is the rematch. Let's talk about the first fight. I mean, what is there to say? Tremendous fight. Those guys stood in the middle of the octagon. They traded shots. It was 2-2 going into the 5th. A lot of people say, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was 3-1 Colby, but one judge had a 3-1 Colby. I think the two others had a 2-2 Kamaru, or 2-2 tied. And Kamaru lands the big shot in the 5th round. Okay, I mean, that could have happened to anyone. I mean, it could have. The way that fight was playing out, man, it was just who was going to land the big shot first. And in that fight, in that particular night, it was Kamaru Usman who landed that big right and put down Colby and finished him on the ground. Given, was Colby out of it? No. Could Colby probably last the 50 seconds? Probably. But knowing what we know now, that meant Kamaru Usman was going to win a split decision. He was going to win it 3-2. Up until that knockdown, though, if Kamaru doesn't land that right, and that round is going the way that 5th round was going, Colby Covington was going to be the champion. Say it how it is. Colby was going to win that 5th round. He was going to be up 4-1 on one, 3-2 on the other two. Colby Covington would have been champion. The timeline would have been a lot different. They probably would have ran the rematch right back, and it's a shame they didn't do the rematch right after that first fight. But it's time we're finally getting it now. What have we seen out of Kamaru Usman since the first Colby Covington fight? Okay, his right hand is dangerous. Ever since switching it with Trevor Whitman, up in DC, Team Elevation, I mean, my goodness, this man's striking has been incredible. I mean, my goodness. The Masvidal fight. The first fight, okay, I mean, he didn't really have much time with Whitman before the first fight with Masvidal. Yeah, it was wrestles. I mean, he does what he needs to do. Masvidal's wrestling's not very good. Okay, Gilbert Burns fight. He beats him with a jab. Yeah, and Gilbert Burns, okay, is Gilbert Burns' chin the best? That's the concern in that one. And that's really the concern with Kamaru's power. Is it just his power is great, or is he fighting guys who doesn't have the best chin? Okay, because Gilbert Burns got knocked out by Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's a 155-pounder, and yes, Gilbert Burns used to fight 155 as well. He's a 155-pounder going up to 170. So that's the concern on that one. The concern with the Jorge Masvidal fight is, all right, Jorge Masvidal has been in how many fights in his career? 50. The accumulation of damage that Jorge Masvidal's taken in his career, that's concerning on that part. Given it's a tremendous right by Usman, he pulls down the hand of Masvidal with the left, he shoots the right over the top, knocks him out cold. I mean, again, tremendous knockout. I'm not taking any away from the knockout from Usman. It's just that how impressive was it? That's all I'm saying. The Colby fight, again, that could happen to anyone in that fight. I mean, tremendous. It's a good knockout. Say what you want. I'll bring it up very quickly. It's the liver shot to Usman that Colby does deliver in the first fight. It didn't look like it hit the cup. It didn't look like it was a cup shot. Usman was hurt. I think, personally, I thought he got away with one. Colby thinks he got away with one. I'll say it, I thought he got away with one in that one. If he doesn't get the cup shot, if Goddard doesn't stop the fight, does Colby finish the fight there? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but definitely he banks around easy in that one, and the fight's a lot different going in to the latter rounds of that fight. And of course, he's got that big liver shot that's going to stay with Usman, because Usman wasn't able to get those 5 minutes if it wasn't caught, because Usman took, I think, what was like 4.5 minutes with that stoppage. Okay, though. What have we seen out of Colby Covington since the last fight against Kamaru Usman? That's a little bit tough. Now, the big thing for me out of Colby is, sure, you're the winner over Tyron Woodley. That's a good win. It's a vintage Colby Covington performance. He outstrikes Woodley. He outwrestles Woodley. Sure, I mean, it's a good win for Colby. No doubt about it. Now, Kamaru did the same thing, but it's a good win for Colby Covington. The big thing out of Colby Covington that gives me a lot of, gives me a lot of hope for Colby to win this fight is him switching to MMA Masters. MMA Masters, he's not an American top team anymore like he was in the Usman fight. You look at the first fight with Usman and Colby. Colby's got his hands down the entire time. He's not blocking any shots. He's eating everything Usman is throwing at him. And that's tough to win a fight against the best welterweight in the world, who is Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington is easily the second best, and if he can win this fight, he will be the best welterweight on the planet. Him training MMA Masters is a lot different. You got Cesar Carneiro, you got Daniel Valverde over there. Two of the best jiu-jitsu coaches, I would say, in MMA. He's fighting at MMA Masters, and he's like really the only main event level guy at MMA Masters. Given they've got some other fighters, they got Nate Landwehr there, they got Nico Price, they've got Ricardo Lamas used to be there, they have Rafael Alves as well. They've got some good fighters at MMA Masters. Pauliano Viana was there for a time too. They've got some good fighters, but Colby Covington is their guy. He is their guy there. And Colby's jiu-jitsu, we haven't seen it yet really since the Woodley fight, but I think that's where Colby Covington's got the best advantage in this one. It's jiu-jitsu, it's grappling. My problem with that is, how the hell is Colby Covington going to get Kamaru Usman to the ground? I don't think he's going to be able to. Kamaru Usman's never been taken down, ever. He's never been taken down. I mean, he was submitted once against Alex Caceres' brother in 2013. I mean, it was his second pro fight ever. He got standing rear naked choked. He talked about that on the Rogan podcast. He took that fight on short notice. I mean, not much about that one. Colby's one loss to Warley Alves. He took that fight on super short notice too. He had a broken rib in that one. Alves submits him with a guillotine. Both their first losses really don't mean anything. I mean, they really don't. So, how can Colby get Kamaru down? That's the problem. Colby Covington's wrestling is great. It's awesome. I mean, you saw him take down Woodley. How many times did he take down Woodley in their fight? 7, I think it was. Okay, actually it was only 3. But I mean, hey, those 3 takedowns, he stayed on the ground for the entire round. It was 7 against RDA. It was 10 against Robbie Lawler. It was 8 against Dunghyun Kim. It was 12 against Brian Barberena. It was 6 against Max Griffin. You know Colby Covington is always going to be able to get the takedown against any other fighter in the weight class. Any other fighter in the weight class, I'll say Colby Covington's wrestling is going to win him the fight. Any other guy. And I'll say to you, even Khamzat Chimaev, I think Colby Covington would run right through. Even Gilbert Burns. Even Wonder Boy, even Masvidal, even Leon Edwards. I just don't know if he can do it against Kamaru Usman. I don't know if he can. I truly don't know if he can. Usman's never been taken down. So if this fight does end up on the mat, say this happens. Usman slips. Colby takes advantage, he's on top. If Colby Covington gets on top of Kamaru Usman, I think he's going to be able to submit him. I truly think that's the thing. I mean, Colby's jiu-jitsu's he's been working on his jiu-jitsu so much. Everything we've heard out of the Colby Covington camp is that his jiu-jitsu's so much improved, and that might be his best spot. So if that happens, if that rare thing happens like it did in the Volkanovski versus Ortega fight where Volkanovski kind of slips, Ortega gets on top, he almost finishes him with the submission, I think that same exact sequence happens. I think Colby Covington will be able to submit Kamaru Usman. Because we've never seen Usman's jiu-jitsu, because basically Usman doesn't have to drill jiu-jitsu because his takedown defense is so good, so no one's going to be able to take him down. So if that happens, Colby Covington I think wins the fight. It's a very slim margin though, like of how Colby can win the fight on the ground. You talk about the striking, and if Usman tries to take down Covington, I think he might be able to, if I'm being honest. Colby's defensive wrestling isn't great, but the thing about Colby's defensive wrestling sometimes is he'll let guys take him down so he can be on his back. And especially now, considering the way Colby's been training MMA Masters, I wouldn't be too surprised if he just lets Usman take him down. Like, not completely, but I think he'll be more accepting of the takedown, considering how his grappling has evolved and how his jiu-jitsu has evolved. You saw Woodley took him down, but Colby got right back up. RDA took him down, but Colby got right back up too. I'm not too concerned in that case. Usman, great wrestler, but you want to talk about the stand-up fight with this one. 2 guys, maybe not the best strikers when you compare the weight class to the Masvidals of the world, the Wonder Boys of the world, and Leon Edwards of the world. But these 2 guys, both, if you look at both of them, pure striking. How does Kamaru Usman beat Colby Covington? Kind of the same way he did last time. This time, can you just finish him earlier? Can you knock him out with the big right? If Colby can avoid that big right, though, and if Kamaru Usman becomes dependent on that one right hand and that big right cross, if he becomes dependent on that like he kind of has in the Masvidal fight and Gilbert Burns fight again, he got him with the jab, but still, that right was landing in that one. If he becomes dependent on that one shot, that's how Colby Covington wins. Colby works in the body kicks. Colby works in the volume. And that's how Colby Covington, if he cannot get this fight to the ground, which I think you will see at least one of these guys attempt to take this fight down. If he can't do that, if Colby cannot do that, his way to win this fight is through the volume. And I think he's got to be real careful getting hit by a big shot of that Usman will throw. Because you've seen Usman land those big shots against Masvidal and Burns, respectively. If Colby can actually keep his hands up this time, though, he's not training ATT anymore. He's training MMA Masters. That's one of the big improvements he's been talking about, Colby's been talking about, is that I'm going to keep my hands up. I'm going to fight this fight way more conservatively. I'm not just going to go for it like I did in the last time. If that's the case, You gotta like what you're hearing out of Colby Covington. But the big problem again though is Usman's power is so good. Colby could be winning the first 20 minutes of this fight. Usman can land a big right, and he could TKO Colby. I mean, I don't think we're going to see a KO finish in this one. I think we could see a TKO. It's just that both these guys' chins are tremendous. Like, Usman really hasn't been in too much trouble. I know Burns knocked him down, but, I mean, come on. The only time Colby's ever been in danger on the feet was that one Kamaru fight. Both these guys' chins are great. I don't think we will get a spectacular highlight reel knockout in this one. I think you'll see a TKO maybe with ground and pound finishing it if one guy can get the edge on that. I think if that's going to happen, it's going to be Usman. Colby might be able to finish Usman later in the fight. It's not going to happen early, though. Except for this. There's the one strike Colby throws, which I wouldn't be surprised if he tries it again. You look at the end of the Robbie Lawler fight. Go to like 4 minutes, 55 seconds into that 5th round against Lawler. Colby will throw that big roundhouse kick, the spinning roundhouse kick. He misses it. On the way back, after he's done throwing the kick, he throws that really beautiful spinning back fist. After he's done throwing the kick. Lands a big spinning back fist. Really rocks Robbie. And I know this is an older Robbie Lawler, but I can almost guarantee you're going to see Colby break this one out because that's his best power shot. Because Colby's not like Colby's throwing big overhand right. It's not like he's throwing, right crosses that are going to knock dudes out with one punch. It's just not the way Colby fights. That's going to be Colby's best shot to win this fight with one punch. Or one strike. Usman's best shot, obviously, is with the big right. And even with the jab, because his jab is really nice as well. So, I don't know, man. It's a tough fight to call. It really is. Because, again, if I'm picking Colby, I'm picking based on volume, and I'm picking if this fight does get to the ground, I think Colby Covington's jiu-jitsu is better than Kamaru Usman. If I'm picking Kamaru Usman, I think he can stuff a takedown from Colby. I think even if Kamaru has to go to the wrestling, he's a better wrestler than Colby. And also, his striking is better than Colby Covington's, and his power is better than Colby Covington's. Oh, by the way, Kamaru's fought 3 times since the first Colby fight, and Colby's only fought once, and it was against Tyron Woodley, who isn't all that great and just lost to Jake Paul. Okay. I don't know where to go. I'm picking Colby Covington. I think Colby Covington can out-volume Kamaru Usman. I think it's going to be a lot different from the first fight. I think Colby's going to try to take over quickly. I think he's going to be able to avoid the big right, and if Kamaru Usman, again, becomes dependent on that first round, if Colby can win the first 2 rounds, I think you're going to see a Kamaru Usman who's just trying to land that right hand. And if he's just trying to land the right hand, that's not the best striking we're going to see out of Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington should be able to take advantage of that, and Colby Covington should be able to out-volume his way to a decision. I think Usman's going to win rounds. I think Colby's going to win rounds. But when it's all said and done, I think Colby Covington, be it a shock, I think he wins 4 rounds in this fight. I think Colby Covington wins 4-1. He out-volumes Kamaru Usman. I don't think this fight really ends up on the mat. I really don't see it happening. I think this fight's just going to be a striking fight. And I think Colby Covington's volume is going to be enough to beat Kamaru Usman. I think he gets it done. I think he keeps his hands up in this fight. He works the body well. He's going to go back to that liver shot that he landed in the first Kamaru fight. And I like Colby Covington to pull off the upset, beat the pound-for-pound king, and I think Colby Covington, the new welterweight champion, he gets the title back. Bring on Colby and Masvidal. If Masvidal can go out and beat Leon Edwards, we'll see that fight in December. But yeah, I like Colby Covington. From here, though, actually, it'll probably be the trilogy fight, 100%. Unless Masvidal wins, we'll do Colby and Masvidal next. But it's going to be the trilogy if Colby can win against Usman. If Kamaru wins, it will probably be Leon Edwards. If Colby loses, I think he'll go down to 155 if he doesn't do professional wrestling yet next, which maybe I could see a pathway for him going to AEW, considering they got the stuff with Dan Lambert going on right now in All Elite Wrestling. But it'll probably be Colby going down 155. Colby's not a huge guy at 170. He's only 5'11". He's been setting up the Dustin Poirier fight perfectly. Even if he wins this fight with Usman, then you know they're going to have Poirier go up to 170 and eventually fight Colby if he can get out that third fight against Usman or beat Masvidal or beat Edwards. So I think with the loss here, Colby's going to try to cut down to 155. I think he can. He says he probably couldn't do it because he doesn't really cut down to 170. So that's probably next to Colby if he can't beat Kamaru. I think, though, he's going to be able to do it. So, Colby Covington beats Kamaru Usman. He gets the belt back. He wins it by unanimous decision using the volume striking. Call me crazy, but we're taking a shot on Colby Covington. Hey, I picked Glover Teixeira last week as the underdog. Glover Teixeira won the light heavyweight championship at 42 years of age. Don't tell me Colby Covington can't beat Kamaru Usman on Saturday night. There's definitely a possibility he can do it. With the Trumps in the crowd, we're going Colby Covington to beat Kamaru Usman, unanimous decision, and new welterweight champion of the world. And folks, thank you all for watching this UFC 268 preview and predictions card. I mean, what a card this is going to be. You're going to see a lot of finishes on this card. I can almost guarantee it. On the prelims, we had almost all finishes and all by TKO. I mean, this is going to be a crazy card. I'm so excited. MSG, UFC, we are back. And yeah, Colby Covington, though, and new welterweight champion by unanimous decision. Next week, though, Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez. Get pumped for that. Unfortunately, though, no crowd for that card. You got to be kidding me. But still, Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway next week. This week, though, tremendous card. Colby, Usman, Namajunas, Young Weili too. And, of course, Gaethje, Chandler as well. So, folks, thank you all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Mamba. Forever.